All right, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. This is week 5, first afternoon session of week 5 of It's a Peer-to-Peer World virtual conference. Thanks again to all of our hosts and sponsors, including Double Donation, who's going to be talking all about matching gifts in this session. I'm looking forward to it. Go ahead and move on to the next slide here. Yeah, thanks again to all of our sponsors and hosts. And moving on just quickly, again, you guys, a lot of great sessions. Feel free to hopefully, I need to get up and do a virtual walk after this, right? I've been sitting at my desk all day again, 5 weeks in a row. So go out and do that walk or catch one of these other sessions this afternoon as well. And if you miss any of them, we are recording them. So definitely, don't worry about if you have any technical issues on your end, but as you think of questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A area, or feel free just to give everybody a shout out or chat in the chat feature as well. And Sydney will be answering questions at the end, but make sure you type them in there as you think of them, and then stay on afterwards and complete the survey for your chance to win some swag. We want to hear about your feedback, what you thought, what else we can talk about. And with that, I am going to hand it off.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. My name is Sydney Fay. I'm from the South. I'm from Georgia, so I go by Sydney Fay, just like Mary Kate. I'm excited to spend the next 45 minutes or so chatting with you guys all about matching gifts and how you can really leverage matching gifts throughout like your donor journey through their giving online to maximize, their giving experience, but also maximize that matching gift revenue. So a little bit more about who I work for. Like I said, I'm Sydney Fay. I am a manager at Double Donation. We are the owner of the world's largest and most comprehensive matching gift database and work with about 4,000 plus clients across the US and some other countries to help nonprofits get as much matching gift revenue in the door as possible, in it as easy lift as possible. We've been around since 2011. We were started by our president, Adam Weinger, who worked for-profit. Didn't really do matching gifts, had a PDF form, spilled coffee on it, forgot to turn it in, found out a lot of his colleagues had the exact same experience, were giving but not submitting matches, quit his job, built out our first iteration of our service package, rode around the country in his car. And here we are today, starting off from him in 2011 to about 45 or so people at DTD. So like I said, DTD, the world's largest matching gift database. We've helped nonprofits identify over 200 million match eligible dollars, which is super exciting because there's even more than that being left on the table each year. We have over 60 plus native integrations. So when you think about some of the other conference hosts and conference sponsors like QGive, GiveButter, One Cause, Fundraising, Donor Drive, Give, Sign Up, Run, Sign Up, they're all our partners as well that we help leverage matching gifts for their donors and their mutual clients of ours. We also have an award-winning client success team and tons of other resources we pump out, free resources you guys can always find by visiting our website. Like I said, we're going to be talking about matching gifts today and how as a peer-to-peer nonprofit, you can really leverage matching gifts through your donor journey to, one, get more people excited about matching gifts and to get more matching gifts in the door. At any point you have questions, feel free to chat them. We'll be taking a look at them definitely at the end, maybe throughout, depending on the question. But let's go ahead and dive in. So I always like to start these matching gift presentations under the assumption that everyone needs an equal baseline of what corporate philanthropy is and what matching gifts are, right? Because we're all working in nonprofit world, but our level of understanding can vary depending on how much experience we've had with matching gifts and specifically corporate philanthropy. So I want to take just literally a minute to talk a little bit more about what corporate philanthropy is, different types, and then we'll hone in on matching gifts. So I have a background in fundraising. Mine specifically is within higher ed. So a lot of these different corporate philanthropy programs sound kind of familiar. Before I started working for DTD, I didn't have tons of depth and what each of them actually was, an actual kind of tangible experience. But there's typically 5 main types of corporate philanthropy. Depending on your type of nonprofit, you may be more eligible for some than others, or you might be eligible for all or none, just depending on where you're located and your mission related services. But matching gifts, by far the most popular. What we're going to talk about, won't go into too much depth about that. But the really cool things you want to keep in mind is that, the average nonprofit, the average 501c13 nonprofit that's not like a church per se, or maybe not a politically affiliated association, is eligible for at least 70 to 80% of the existing matching gift programs out there. And about more than half of the Fortune 500 companies actually provide corporate matching programs. So when we think about the $4 to $7 billion that are left unclaimed each year by the nonprofit market in matching gifts, that means a lot of you guys are eligible and a lot of you guys aren't taking advantage of that eligibility. And we'll talk more about how to do that a little bit later. Moving on quickly to cover the other types of corporate philanthropy. There's also volunteer grants. So being in the peer-to-peer space, different than some other types of nonprofits, maybe universities, if you're doing a lot of peer-to-peer fundraising, you might have a lot of unclaimed potential when it comes to volunteer grants, and being that the same companies that offer corporate matching programs also offer volunteer grants, to where they will give, a check or a grant to a nonprofit for which their employees consistently volunteer at. So if you find yourself having reoccurring volunteers who are at least doing, 10 to 20 hours each year with you guys, there may be, a need to maybe pin that conversation with your volunteers team later on to kind of talk about if you're maximizing all of those opportunities you have to get those volunteer hours matched. Especially because volunteerism continues to grow, especially when you think about the millennials and Gen Z populations or generations. As volunteerism continues to increase, it's a good idea to maybe consider what opportunities are you guys missing out there. The other type of corporate matching is employee grant stipends. So a little bit different, a little bit less common, and that is really a corporation kind of says, we just want to allot some amount of money that our employees can have and decide who they want to give it to. So it doesn't necessarily need to be initiated by an employee giving. It's more so that the company set aside some infrastructure and some revenue in place to kind of say, hey guys, you advocate for the nonprofits you think deserve these grant stipends, and then we're going to give you the money and you can give it to whoever you want. So less common, but if you can find a corporation close to you or a corporation that typically offers these stipends, it's a good idea to kind of identify the donors you have who work within those companies. Community grants, probably the most well-known form of corporate philanthropy, and that all of the nonprofits typically have some type of grant writing component as it relates to someone on your team or how you plan to fund your next year's expenditures. Basically, you guys are writing in applications to corporations or community foundations or either other nonprofits to ask for some type of grant to go towards some mission-related services, and then of course reporting back on how you guys are spending that revenue. And then the last one is volunteer support initiatives. So this one's growing, but it's a little bit uncommon. And that basically it's companies that have employees who can offer some type of service that a nonprofit may need, in the sense that, tons of people are wearing multiple hats in a nonprofit. Maybe, someone's trying to fit an accounting hat, or maybe someone's trying to fit like a little bit of a technical user design hat. But these volunteer support services allow experienced employees of companies, for example, like IBM, to go out and provide services, or even in some cases technology, to help better those nonprofits or help make those types of activities like tax services an easier lift. So less common, but it's becoming more common as the tech space continues to grow. And a really good example would be like a big tech company or a STEM company, for example, like IBM, providing technology and skilled services to universities who specialize in like engineering or something related to the folks who are graduating that they may want to hire. So that's a really quick overview of the different types of corporate philanthropy. And of course, we're going to focus on matching gifts, which I get really excited about matching gifts personally, because like I said, I have a history in fundraising, and matching gifts tend to be the area where you as a nonprofit have the most opportunity to make some shifts in how you communicate matching gifts to your donors to get the most impact back. It's kind of like what you put in is directly related to what you get back, which is really exciting. making sure everyone's on the same page of what corporate matching gifts are. Like we talked about, corporations, invest in corporate philanthropy to give back to their community, and they also get, tax breaks as well for it. A matching gift is whenever an employee of a company that offers a matching program says, you know what, we really believe in the mission this nonprofit has. I'm going to make a gift, and then I'm going to request that my company also match that gift, as long as that nonprofit meets, the standards laid out. Like I said, about 60% of the Fortune 500 companies offer corporate matching gifts programs, and that number continually increases as corporate philanthropy and social responsibility becomes more of, a requirement for spending as a U.S. population. There's all different types of important things to keep in mind when it comes to matching gifts. First, nonprofit eligibility is really important to think about when you think about the types of mission-related services you're offering. Specifically, I mentioned earlier that sometimes churches or politically affiliated nonprofits may not be eligible for as many corporate matching programs. And that's because corporations create their own guidelines of who they want to support from a matching gift standpoint. So universities tend to be eligible, K through 12 and universities tend to be eligible for about 90+% of corporate matching programs. And then the food banks, the peer-to-peer health-focused nonprofits, the research nonprofits, the shelters, the rescue missions, all those other kind of community-based or museum or health and human service nonprofits fall in the middle to be eligible for about 80% or so of corporate matching programs. So your eligibility is really important in a sense that you just want to know, as a nonprofit and as your mission-related services apply, what could you actually be eligible for, and if matching gifts is even worth the venture for you guys. Once you decide you do want to go after matching gifts because you do have revenue on the table, the other components are really like match ratios, which refers to how much the corporation is going to give based off how much the donor gave. The average ratio is 1-to-1, meaning John Doe gives you $50, Home Depot will give you $50. About 90% of the corporations programs have a 1-to-1 match ratio. But there's other companies, maybe 5% or so, who have a higher rate of matching 2-to-1, 3-to-1. I've even seen 5-to-1, depending on the different role or title someone has at a corporation. So someone in like a board or leadership role will have a higher match, which is really cool, and a higher ratio. Speaking of like the roles at a company, employee eligibility is also a big factor to think about when you think about you as a nonprofit, what your donor base looks like. Because typically full-time employees are always match eligible through these corporations. Some will match part-time employees. And then the big question mark sometimes is around retirees, right? So if you're a nonprofit who has tons of retirees, thinking about how that impacts your eligibility, meaning you could be eligible for slightly less corporate programs, but there still are a lot of companies like Bank of America who offer retiree matches, which is cool because research shows retirees sometimes start to increase their donation amounts as their volunteerism decreases. So you may be able to get a larger match for some of your older donors than you historically would for some of your younger population sometimes. The gift amount is important as it relates to matching gifts because there's always a minimum or a maximum. Minimum being the minimum someone has to give to get a gift match, the maximum being the most the company will match. The most important thing I like to stress about the gift amount is that, for example, if Disney has a $25,000 maximum, that $25,000 is split between any other nonprofit that donor decides they want to submit a matching gift request for. So that means if you're the last nonprofit to ask John Doe about matching gifts and he's close to that maximum, then you may be missing out on a large percentage of the gift that could be matched. So it's really important to keep that in mind, that while donors can get gifts matched, they do have a limit on how much that company will match each year. So if you're the first nonprofit to reach out, you're often the first to get that full gift they gave to you match versus only getting a smaller percentage. And then the final thing is program deadlines, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can't get a gift matched in 2013 You can't get it in 2021. You can't get a gift match that you made in 2013. That's slim chances. So corporations associate some type of deadline, often the calendar year, around when gifts can be matched. So the end of the year, which we're entering into this time frame, can be a really important time to reach out to and remind donors about the importance of getting the gifts matched that they've given, from January to now. So we talked about some basics, right? Everyone's probably on, learn something new, hopefully, or at least on the same playing field when it comes to the basics of matching gifts. Now moving on to a little bit about, that $4 to $7 billion number I shared earlier, and that there's $4 to $7 billion being left on the table unclaimed each year in matching gift revenue. And that comes from just general underutilization, right? There's 23,000 plus companies we have in our database that we know offer some type of corporate matching program. There's all different types of nonprofits that are eligible. And when it comes to your own individual eligibility, we typically see about 5 to 15% of a nonprofit's individual gifts are eligible for some type of corporate matching program. And how we get that number is, based on our database, we believe there to be 26 million plus individuals in the US who are eligible for corporate matching. Now, all of them are giving, unfortunately, but they're eligible. And so based on those numbers and how giving trends roll out, that equals about 5 to 15% of the average nonprofit's gifts that could be eligible for corporate matching. So I would say, if you're thinking about what you're doing now, if I had to make a guess, in my almost 5 years of doing this, you're probably falling into 1 to 2% versus the 5 to 15% of what you're actually pulling in. And what we see for some of our larger peer-to-peer nonprofit clients is that a growing best practice is becoming that of your total operating budget to hold each other accountable for actual matching gift fundraising. 4% of that budget is based on matching gift revenue. And that's kind of forcing the matching gift conversation to happen to help you guys get closer to those ranges you see on the screen as it relates to your everyday donors. If you have questions about eligibility, feel free to chat them and we'll get to them a little bit later. But the important thing here is take note of where you think you fall in individual contributions. And what we're really talking about is like your everyday donors who are giving to you through your main donation forms, your peer-to-peer forms, and maybe sending in checks. Not so much your major donors who are giving like 25K or 50K, because while they're eligible, those probably aren't the people you're going to roll out into, a mass matching gift marketing campaign. Those are probably folks I imagine who you have a more intimate conversation with as it relates to giving in general. If you're asking yourself, Sydney Fay, you said I'm supposed to be doing $500,000 in matching gifts. And I'm looking at our reports here and we're doing like 100,000. Why is that? It's just back to that idea of underutilization and the idea of nonprofits needing a better way to make matching gifts the easy lift for donors. The 4 steps of the matching gift process are pretty easy. Step 1, donor gives. Step 2, donor submits. Step 3, company might ask you to verify that you actually want the matching gift or verify that the donor gave. And step 4, company mails you a check or you get an ACH deposit. Step 2 is where all of the drop off occurs. If you picture like a big funnel, you have all these eligible donors at the top and then they go through the funnel and somewhere at the end, you spit out 1 or 2 people who actually submit a match. Step 2 is where a lot of that drop off occurs because you've already gotten the buy-in for people to support your institution or organization. But then you're to the point where step 2, you actually need people to take that next step. So we're thinking about kind of this idea of this big funnel of people starting at the top who are eligible and kind of working their way through and only getting a couple of those gifts, 1 to 2% versus that 5 to 15. It all boils down to a few major matching gift pain points. And these are pain points we've seen over a decade of being in the matching gift space. And these are pain points we'll talk about today, as it relates to some simple strategies to overcome some of these. But the most common issues or the most common things holding you guys back is that 1, you don't really know where your donors work for a number of reasons, right? You could be asking, some information could be old or historic. Donors are switching jobs every 6 to 12 months. Maybe you're not asking at all. Maybe you're only asking your larger donors, but either way, overall, all of us can probably agree that employer data is an area that if you could easily improve it, you would. And it's important to matching gifts, right? Because if you want to do strategic outreach to your eligible donors, you kind of want to know where they work. So you can change the conversation from, hey, John Doe, matching gifts exist, you should look into this, to, hey, John Doe, you work for Home Depot. Home Depot is actually a matching company. Here's how you submit your form. So that employer data is really important and really tied to the rest of these, in that with employer data, you can help people know they're aware. And without it, you can also increase awareness, which we'll talk about. Donors can know how to submit once you increase that awareness and give them some actionable steps. Follow-up is the hardest thing to do when it comes to following up, to remind people to actually submit matching gift requests. But if you can crack that code through some simple follow-up, or leveraging what you're already doing after donors give and incorporating matching gifts into that, that's the easy way to just raise awareness and get more people to submit. And then, of course, overall, it's hard to kind of track where donors are in that matching process and track your donor insight. And when we think about stewarding, your average donor, you have a much better idea of which donors are returning donors, or who've given last year and given again, versus folks who've matched last year and who are matching again. So it's hard to kind of have that insight on that behavior. Overall, kind of this funnel leads to just donors needing help with corporate matching gifts, nonprofits needing help with corporate matching gifts, lots of question marks floating around. From a bandwidth standpoint, right? I've been in fundraising, so if you're spending your time in a fundraising team, it's probably going to go and getting the initial dollars in the door, and then matching gifts naturally may live on a back burner a little bit. But all of this just leads to about 78% of donors who are eligible not really knowing how to submit or not following through with the matching gift submission process, which is why there's so much matching gift revenue left on the table, 4 to 7 billion. And that's, a pretty big pie. That's enough pie for everyone to get a piece of, which is the really exciting part. So as we move into the kind of the rest of the conversation today, I really want to focus on how you guys can start leveraging your online giving specifically to tackle the underutilization of corporate matching gifts in general. So combating matching gifts. I always like to kind of have a general conversation, when I'm talking to nonprofits, in person or virtually, or like webinars, to kind of talk about what the status quo is today, right? Before we talk about how you can make changes. And the good thing is, the reactive approach, or what I call it a reactive approach, it's pretty familiar to most nonprofits. So if what I'm about to say you identify with strongly, don't worry, you're probably not the only nonprofit identifying with this process. But when I say reactive, I typically mean matching gifts like live on a back burner, right? So I like to imagine, I'm making beans. I have a really hard time making beans successfully. I don't know what it is. It's just not my thing, right? They're on the back burner. They're cooking. Maybe I take a nap. Maybe I forget I'm cooking altogether because they're just back there sitting. I don't have my glasses on. I can't even see that the eye's on. And then all of a sudden something starts smoking and then my beans are on fire. And, this is a true story. Like I said, I have a really hard time cooking beans. And then immediately I'm reacting to my pot smoking because I've burnt these beans to a crisp. And now I'm trying to do all this heavy work, it's heavy lifting to kind of go back and retroactively stop myself from creating like a catastrophic situation, right? Setting off my alarm or doing something that my neighbors wouldn't like. So I like to think of matching gifts kind of like that, and that, they typically sit on the back burner. If issues come up, then you address the issues. But really, you're just kind of waiting for those beans to finish. And if they finish and it tastes great, you're okay. You got some matching gifts in the door. And if they finish and they're not the greatest, there's not ever really a conversation around how you're going to improve your beans next go around. So, my real life example, but what that approach looks like is typically donors make gifts, right? All of us are hopefully getting donations in the door as nonprofits. People are giving through peer-to-peer, they're giving online through your main form. They're hearing about you, on cruise ships because you guys are doing really good marketing these days. They're giving checks, they're making gifts. Typically what happens after that, you guys aren't really capturing tons of company data when it comes to where donors are working. There's not really a focus on matching gifts. So they're giving and they get some type of thank you messaging. In that case, an automatic email may go out like a thank you receipt. It may have some mention of matching gifts, but if I had to guess, It doesn't, and if it does, it's buried like on line 5 of the email that no one's reading. And those thank you receipt emails are the emails that are most likely to get archived. It's the same way as if you order from Old Navy and they send you a thank you receipt email, you're probably not going to pay attention to it till you need it. Same thing with those thank you emails. You might be mentioning matching gifts, which is good, but the likelihood of it getting viewed is, slim to none. And after that, after people are giving, there's not really any additional push when it comes to matching gifts. There maybe is like one more email everyone gets, or there could be a piece of direct mail everyone gets, right? But it's not super targeted outside of just being someone who gave within the year 2021. And because of that, that's where we see only 5 to 7% of folks actually submitting those matching gift requests. Because unless you kind of put the pressure on them in a sense, or stress how important matching gifts are throughout the year and throughout their giving, people aren't going to consider matching gifts as a part of your donation culture. And as a result, matching gifts are underutilized, and then we get all that money on the table. So this is like my view of the reactive approach, which is the average nonprofit I talk to, this is pretty much what they're doing. And like I said, I understand if you're spending the resources on anything, it's going to be on getting the fundraising in your door. But our goal is not to make matching gifts a heavy lift for you guys. It's to help you leverage what you're already doing, to incorporate bits and pieces of matching gifts into that wheelhouse to help, improve your visibility across your organization and help more people submit. So when I think about this wheelhouse, right, this donor, / volunteer journey, but we're focusing on donors today. And this is very simplified. I'm sure people on fundraising teams are just like, this is 4 steps. I have 20 steps to get people to donate. So this is very simplified. But when I think about, that giving wheelhouse, it's, converting people to donors. So getting the buy-in from folks into your mission, whether you're like maybe a cancer related nonprofit and someone has a personal connection to your nonprofit because they or someone in their family was impacted, whether you're a food bank, doing peer-to-peer, and someone in your communities feels really impassioned to support other people. It could be their neighbors or their students in a school, or any type of nonprofit, right? You're putting in a lot of time, a lot of elbow grease to get those people to convert into actual supporters. All this marketing, like I said, I went on a cruise pre-COVID, and like there is, a big dance-a-thon for a huge nonprofit, even on the cruise ship, right? So once you get these donors converted, then you move towards stewarding them. So making sure that they continue to understand the importance of your mission, continue to feel impassioned about what you're doing, so you can retain them as donors and keep that retention. So, you guys probably know that's how you grow as a nonprofit. You get your new donors who give next year, and then by the time next year comes around, you're getting those new donors, and so on and so forth. And then you're going to continue to, of course, to go back to cultivating and then converting those donors. So there's a lot of work already being put into kind of this wheelhouse of this donor journey. And, our goal at DTD is, whether you're a client or whether you reach out and leverage our free services, is to really help you figure out where in these different steps can you leverage something you're already doing to mention matching gifts to kind of further that messaging to donors. So there's tons of ways to like cultivate. When we think about cultivation of donors and getting folks excited about matching gifts, and as people are visiting your website naturally, to include matching gifts into that. The easiest ways are going to be through your website navigation, your matching gift pages, and just on your website in general. There's some other ways that you can, market matching gifts through, including matching gift goals, or recording matching gifts as a part of your peer-to-peer thermometers or those fundraising goals. Sharing it in initial marketing appeals for fundraising. So if you visit your website and there's a pop-up that says, hey, we're fundraising for hurricane relief, or hey, we're fundraising for this upcoming event, thinking about what similar experiences you can create as it relates to matching gifts, right? So if someone hits donate, having a pop-up that says, hey, do you know you're matching gift eligible, or do you want to find out how? Thinking about things you're already doing that can be translated over to the matching gifts. You can do social media campaigns, you can do ads, you could use newsletters, mentioning matching gifts in newsletters, highlighting matching gift involvement and its importance, and even, having matching gifts and email signatures across your nonprofit. You'd be amazed at how a simple change, like requesting at the very least your fundraising team to add a link to your matching gift page in your email signature, can make a difference as it relates to matching gift visibility. I want to show you some examples of at least some website navigation and dedicated matching gift pages. So I'm just going to pull up a few examples just to show you real quick of how some other orgs are working to make matching gifts super visible. And these are orgs we work with, but probably familiar. So here's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, right? Lots of information on their website, great info. There's this nice how to help section and the navigation bar. And then boom, there's employee matching gifts, which I love to see. So when you're thinking about someone who's maybe been impassioned recently about, supporting LLS or what they're working to solve the research and cure, and they're visiting the website and they're trying to figure out how to help, and they're skimming through this, then like online, monthly giving, donor advised funds, right? These are going to speak to different people. That's why the options are here. But having that employee matching gift option right there in that navigation bar increases that visibility. The same way, you guys work really hard to have those donation buttons very visible, that you want people to be able to easily find their way to give. You want people to easily find their way to employee matching gift information as well. And I'll show you what's on these pages in a little bit, but I want to show you a couple more examples real quick. Another example is MDA. They have same thing, lots of information. They have, I'll go to their main website real quick though. They have a get involved page, participate in event, volunteer, donate, and boom, matching gifts. Again, if someone's looking for ways to get involved with your nonprofit, having all their options from donating to matching gifts to volunteering, it's really important to have that front and center so people can easily find it. When we think about cultivating and getting the buy-in from donors on different ways they can support you all, making sure that matching gifts are visible and they at least have the opportunity to read about matching gifts somewhere is really important to chipping away at that 78% of donors who don't otherwise know they're eligible or don't otherwise submit. I'll show you one more example, just so you guys can have some different options. Alzheimer's Association, same idea. Alzheimer's and dementia related help and support, a get involved section that allows them to learn more about other ways to give. So let's say, sometimes it could be a difficult buy-in. It could be difficult to get buy-in from your organization to maybe make changes on your main website. I understand. And it may be a long-term ask, but you're looking for something you can do in the meantime. If you have like a other ways to give page that's already linked or already tabbed, maybe trying to get like a workplace giving or employee matching section added to that will be a good in between step if you're working to get something maybe on your navigation page in the future. So I wanted to show you that example as well, in that there is an option for people to access matching gifts. Another really important thing to do when you're thinking about that cultivation and making sure people are aware of matching gifts as it relates to your nonprofit is I always like to do a quick matching gift search. So if I were you, if you have multiple screens, if you want to do it later, I would search matching gifts in your organization's name, because I think that is the perfect way to see what experience your donors get when they search matching gifts for you guys. So here's an example of the American Heart Association, right? When I search American Heart Association and matching gifts, there's a number of different results that pop up that allow donors to get immediate access to their matching gift page. And on this page, they have tons of information. They have our tool here, which gives donors access to our database. And this is what I would call a dedicated matching gift page. It's a page solely dedicated to all things matching gifts and volunteer grants in some cases. So they're including things like the EIN number, which are really important to the success of a donor submitting a matching gift request form. So if you have a page like this, I would take a look at if you have a place for a donor to search, their company. I'm in Atlanta, so Home Depot is easy, and get their matching gift forms and guidelines and mins and maximums and all that great information we talked about, and access to those matching gift forms. If you have something like that you can leverage donors to get access to their matching gift information. But also, do you have the proper contact information like EINs and addresses and a phone number and or an email that folks can reach out to with questions as well? And what I really like about this page is that they also even have an FAQ section. And we have plenty of examples of FAQs that you guys can leverage from us. And that if someone's just like, I'm not even sure what matching gifts are, what about volunteer grants? How do I even ask my company to match? Where is this matching gift information you provided in that tool coming from? And who do I reach out if I still have questions? So just a really quick example of when you go back and think about cultivation and getting donors excited about matching gifts and getting people to know about matching gifts before they sometimes are even donors, it is making sure that matching gifts are visible on your website. And then you can go to a website and you can search not only matching gifts American Heart on Google, but you can maybe also search matching gifts on your main website as well. Because sometimes you guys put in a lot of hard work to have your dedicated matching gift page, but you search matching gifts and I'm on your website searching, and then I search matching gifts and then I don't find anything. But then, in this case, American Heart again has some different examples of how they're redirecting people back to matching gifts as well through that internet search. To show you really quickly some other examples of dedicated matching gift pages, I think it's good to just see how other folks are decorating their pages or designing. Here's Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. You get to their matching gift page through the donation process. They have their email front and center if there's questions. They have, again, an area for folks to search and get access to those forms that are very important, the only thing donors need to complete that process. Again, they're offering some really important information like addresses and info that might be needed as they submit. And then they have a really nice message that I do like of they're just thanking people for supporting, under the assumption that maybe someone is a donor visiting this page. Thanking people for getting involved and supporting, I think goes a long way because, when you thank someone, they're more likely to participate in the activity in the future. To show you one more quick example, how about we do the ASPCA, right? Their matching gift page, all pretty similar, right? Its own dedicated page, only about matching gifts. Some verbiage about why matching gifts are important information that the donor might need as it relates to the process, and then that tax ID number, which is important as well, and contact information. So really simple, and that the whole idea is making matching gifts easy to find on your website, easy to find through a Google search, easy to find through a search on your website, not just on a navigation bar. And then if someone's looking, giving them a place where they can find all things matching gifts. So really simple when it comes to like I like to say, cultivating matching gift donors and starting that conversation. And there's all other types of examples, right? So like I said, thinking about other activities you're already doing through your appeals or on social media campaigns or newsletters or virtual or either direct mail you're sending out that are mentioning support, making sure matching gifts are being considered in that type of support as well. Then we get to this whole idea of conversion, right? So we've moved from having people who are excited about your nonprofit, who've bought in and are now actual donors and supporters, and they're converted. And those are the people who could actually, go through the matching gift process, right? Because they've given, that's step one, someone has to donate. Step two, someone can get involved and then actually be prompted for matching gifts. So by far, the best place to market matching gifts to your donors is in the donation process, because the donating is step one. So I live my life in metaphors, right? I like to think, why skip asking for matching gifts in step one when step one is the prerequisite, right, for matching gifts? So it's not like when you're in school or something, you're registering for like English 1102, they make you take English 1101 first because that's a prerequisite and you just can't sign up for it and they're not marketing that class to you because you need the foundation. So the donation process, them giving, is that foundation for where you should start the matching gift conversation and then how the matching gifts can flow over. So there's some examples I want to show you how other clients of ours and nonprofits are marketing matching gifts through the giving process, and it's very simple. But throughout the donation process, in addition, if you're an organization that has like a phone-a-thon or a telefund, don't forgetting that you can also include matching gift ask into those scripts as well. Someone gives, making sure your callers or your donor support team are asking if they're corporate, if they could possibly work for a corporate matching company. If you're sending out pledge cards and direct mail appeals, making sure you're including corporate matching gift information on those as well is really important. And I think by far the biggest opportunity to share matching gifts that gets missed is at those in-person events or in virtual events, of course, now. But as you already have a platform to talk to people about your mission and people have shown up to something to literally hear you talk about the accomplishments you guys have made as a nonprofit, and they're excited, and you have like the award ceremonies, or you guys are doing like those event pushes where you're trying to raise a certain amount before the night's over. coupling that with matching gifts is the perfect opportunity to get people equally as excited about doubling or tripling the support that you guys are already trying to bring in at those events. So definitely don't forget how important word of mouth and matching gifts are at in-person or virtual events, and how something as simple as a handout or a sticker that says I got my gift matched, or t-shirts to say I got my gift matched, to give to people who are already active matching donors, can impassion other people to learn more about that as well. But I do want to show you some steps as it relates to the donation process, some examples of what folks are doing and how easy it is just to mention matching gifts while folks are giving, to then couple that with, after they give, re-mentioning matching gifts as well. So here is, one of LLS's, I would say, peer-to-peer forms that they're leveraging. They're asking for all the normal information you guys are probably asking for as it pertains to folks giving, right? How much they want to give, any messaging, depending on the type of program, payment information, first names, all that good stuff, right? What I skipped that I want to come back to is that they are also have this really cool section where they're prompting donors to, one, like, pique interest about corporate matching gifts. And then there's a database they're accessing, which in our case is our database, but you guys could have your own list of corporations that you build, or you can simply capture the company data as free form text and be able to do something with that later. But if a donor types like Disney, donors are going to be able to say, oh, I do work for Disney, is in this matching gift database, or, I do work for Disney. I'm just going to enter in Disney to see if the nonprofit will tell me I'm eligible. And then now you're capturing company data, whether you have a free form text box or tool we provide. And as donors are continuing to give, you are getting them piqued in interest about matching gifts, right? So if matching gifts is particularly new to you, I think it's really important to consider adding additional messaging outside of, see if your employer will match a donation, which is optional. It could be a sentence or two about what matching gifts are, or how important matching gifts are to your nonprofit. It could be a sentence simply explaining, why you're asking for a company. You could say, some companies will match your gift into your company here, and we'll let you know later if your company will match your gift, right? So it could be whatever verbiage that you want it to say. To show you an example of Second Harvest Heartland, I really like kind of their text they put around matching gifts to get people aware. It's really simple. They have a little section that says, does your employer match your gift? Search, and we'll let you know. You may receive some information if they do. So that's giving this donor kind of an idea that I'm giving, and maybe my employer match. A lot of people haven't heard of matching gifts before. So it's, starting the conversation on this donation page, which is literally as simple as adding a free form text field if you want, if you don't want to use a tool, and just saying, hey, if you're eligible, please learn more about your corporate matching gift program after you give. So I'll show you a few more examples, just in the theme of course, just giving you some different visuals of how different people are asking where folks are working. So I'm going to pull up the Humane Society of the United States. Let's see if I can get this page to come up for me. There we go. Humane Society of the United States and Humane Society International. Again, all different types of donation pages, looks different. The layout's all similar, right? You're asking folks how much you want to give. You're asking for personal information. And somewhere, again, you're just asking people where they work, whether that's a free form text field or a tool you guys can leverage. It's up to you. But the important part is capturing this company data. So you'll have it as a nonprofit, and then getting the motion started about possibly getting a gift match. Now, some other things you can do if you want to be a little extra and you want to convince your web design team or your donor experience team, is that some nonprofits I've seen, whether they're clients or not, have started to understand that the average minimum match is around $25, right? So the average company, at the least someone has to give to get matched, is around $25. So some folks are even building in like upsells, I would call, and where if someone gives 19 or under 25, and they may, indicate that they work for a matching company, or even indicate they're interested and just search their company name, you can have a little pop-up that says, hey, did you know that if you were interested in matching gifts, the average company won't match a gift less than $25? Would you consider, moving your gift from 19 to 25? And that's a really cool functionality I've seen built out on a couple of nonprofit pages that's led to their average gift, of course, increasing over time as well, right? Because if you're asking for under 25 as your lowest ask, and you're asking people to bump that up, some people are going to do that. And over time, your average gift amount will be increased as well. So those are just some examples of how you can ask for corporate matching through the donation process you guys have already worked so hard to build. And what you can do after you have asked for corporate matching gifts on that thank you page is really easy. You can decide if you want to leverage, a database to thank donors after folks have giving, right? After they hit donate, maybe after they process that gift, they hit donate, and they get to that thank you page. This is just an example. I have a few examples to show you. You can automatically, if you leverage a tool, show them, hey, you said you work for Home Depot. Here's your form. Here's the minimums, the maximums, so donors know that they're eligible for corporate matching. So you can leverage some type of tool. You can also just mention matching gifts in general on that page as well to say like, hey, did you know that you may be eligible for a corporate matching gift company? Here's a list of the most common matching gift companies that match to our nonprofit. So I've seen nonprofits do lists sometimes, a little bit less comprehensive, but still effective. I've seen contact information be provided like, hey, you may have indicated you checked the box, you may think you're eligible. Here's a form you could fill out if you want us to help you find out more about your matching gift program. Or it could be a general message on that thank you page that says, hey, you just gave. Matching gifts are very important. Check with your HR to find out more about matching gifts. Of course, the end goal being to get them direct access to those forms is going to be what's most impactful. But the important thing here is just as donors are giving, mentioning matching gifts while they still have that warm and fuzzy feeling is the main goal at the end of the day. So as you're mentioning matching gifts and as donors are being enticed to start a matching gift program or process after they give, over time, we see that matching gifts and donating become less of like two separate actions and it's seen more of like one donation culture. So as a donor works at one job, Home Depot, and then works for Coke the next year, they are 3 times more likely because they're used to being asked about matching gifts to inquire about Coke's matching gift program or their new employers program, just because you guys are consistently marketing matching gifts to them. So those are just some examples of through the donation process, right, of how you can simply ask folks where they work in whatever way you choose, and then prompt donors after they give to learn about matching gifts. Again, whichever way you choose. The confirmation page is going to be far more impactful than your thank you receipt, because this is the page people get after they give. Like I said, they still have that warm and fuzzy feeling, and they're still in that kind of giving process, versus that thank you email. It's good to mention matching gifts on that receipt, but it's going to be least likely that donors actually view it until they need to view it, if maybe for tax purposes. Feel free to post questions. I'm going to keep moving on in the last few minutes to show you just a few more examples to kind of wrap up how some of our clients are really working to maximize matching gift revenue. And that final way is going to be through stewarding and retention. So the same way you guys are working super hard to get donors to come back to give again, you want to work just as hard to get donors to match and then match again. So I have some different examples of different ways you can, post transaction, as in after people give, still remind people about the importance of giving. And that's going to be through some catered matching gift emails. So, we offer a way for you guys to automatically send out matching gift emails. But the really cool thing is that, if you want to take a more focused approach, you can also send out emails as well through your own platforms or through your own processes. So here's like an example of an email that LLS. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I think you stopped sharing your screen just a minute or so ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I got booted. Let me reshare it. My apologies. What about now? Can you see it?
Yep, all good. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know that. Working from home, I get booted sometimes. But I'm not sure where we stopped seeing it, but hopefully you guys saw the thank you page. If not, I could send you some examples after. But I did really quickly want to show you some examples of matching gift emails you can send out after someone gives as well, which is really important, right? Because so far we've talked about having matching gifts on your navigation bar, having a dedicated matching gift page where folks can Google matching gifts in your nonprofit and finding it, sharing matching gifts while people are donating, sharing matching gifts after someone's given on your thank you page. And then the really important piece is continuing the conversation, because the chat about matching gifts really shouldn't stop until someone has submitted a matching gift, at least for your eligible donors. So thinking about what types of emails you want to send out to your donors as it relates to corporate matching gifts. So there's all different things you can do, right? There's more general strategies you can take that says, hey, donor, you gave this year. Did you know you're possibly eligible for a corporate matching gift program? And you can take those donors to like your dedicated matching gift page where they can search, right? Super easy. If you want to put in the time to kind of look at some of those companies you've now captured through adding that freeform text box or tool to your website, and think about some of the larger companies that typically match to you. So maybe Coke, Home Depot, Bank of America. You can come up with your own strategies to strategically send, emails to those donors. It could be like, hey, John, you indicated you work for Home Depot at some point. We've put in the work to get the Home Depot form to you. And then you can automatically leverage, our services at Double Donation to do all that for you as well, of course. But the important thing is that for your donors, that you are making matching gifts an easy lift and getting them straight to that place where they need to submit that matching gift form. And the important thing to remember about those matching gift emails is that the sooner you send them, the better. The sooner being after someone gives, the better. Our research shows at least within that first day of someone getting that matching gift email, they're 3 times more likely to submit. And it's a separate email stream than your thank you email receipt, which is a really important piece to remember. And that you want the focus of that outreach to your donors to only be matching gifts. And so as you're sending out these emails and you're deciding who you want to send reminders to, even at end of the year email stream, because we're right in time, thinking about how you want to make matching gifts as easy as possible for those donors, either leveraging corporate email domains you have, knowing people who you gave using @homedepot.com work for Home Depot, leveraging company data you may already have. If they work for Home Depot, finding a way to get them their forms, and then providing any type of other questions and support that they may need to complete that matching gift process, like an FAQ or link to a dedicated matching gift page. So that's going to be, when we think about the easiest way for you guys to really make a dramatic change to how you're fundraising right now online for donors to drive in revenue, just tackling that donation journey and figuring out how to incorporate matching gifts in an online journey is going to be your easiest lift to create the most impactful matching gift revenue generated down the road. But there's other really cool things that we've seen folks do as well. I like to call it enlisting super donors. So to me, like a super donor or a super supporter is someone who's at every event. Like you guys know those people by names. They show up to events, they're bringing folks, they're getting people pumped about giving. And then if you find out some of those super donors or super supporters work for corporate matching programs, kind of enlisting them in this whole idea of spreading the word about corporate matching gifts or forming teams at their own companies, right? And helping you guys lead matching challenges at those companies. So really being able to leverage those relationships you have with people who really support you guys, who are eligible, to further the word about matching gifts through essentially word of mouth. A lot of you guys may have already had your day your day of giving, or preparing for day of giving, or even Giving Tuesday. And one really cool idea that I've always loved is a day of matching, because you guys put in so much hard work for your giving days. I mean, text messages, phone calls, emails, ads, direct mail, right? It's like the biggest event of the year sometimes. And you have really aggressive goals that you're hopefully meeting each time. Why not couple that day of giving followed by a day of matching to now where you're spending, a fraction of the time, because you've already got the buy-in from all those donors, to get the buy-in for matching gifts. So you're sending out forms, you're sending out links to dedicated matching gift pages. You're talking about matching gifts. You have some videos of people talking about how they get their gifts matched, right? So thinking about all the same things you've used for that day of matching and just reusing it for corporate matching gifts, it's the perfect time to see a huge spike in matching gifts, because people have already shown you that they want to give during that season. Having days of thanks when you're thinking about stewarding donors or just getting people to return is really important, that you're thanking people. And I'm sure we all understand that. There's whole teams, right, dedicated around stewardship. So if you have a phone-a-thon or a telephone or a donor call center or volunteers who are calling for any reason as it relates to support, setting aside some time to at least call your largest donors who are participating in matching gifts to simply just say thanks. Hey, Mr. John, this is Sarah calling from Cat Rescue Club. We saw that you gave, and not only did you give, you went and got your gift matched this year. We're super thankful that you did that. So we were just calling to say thanks so much for participating in matching gifts, and we hope you do it again in the future, right? Just a simple thank you goes so far, as well as including those thank yous and end of year acknowledgements. So if you send out a gift detail letter, sending out something about matching gifts to say, this is how you furthered those gifts for us. Having matching gift clubs. So you likely have like maybe a president's club or a major donors club. Also, assigning some type of status with folks who are participating in matching gifts, right? Because where everyone might not be able to give a super large gift during their lifetime, you might have those donors who will go 10 years and submit a match to you every single year who you haven't thanked yet. And imagine the impact you can make for thanking donors or assigning some type of status for folks who are submitting matches and being able to recognize somebody outside of just a dollar amount, recognizing somebody for a different type of way they've impacted you guys. Same thing goes for awards. And I think I'm always super excited to see matching gifts mentioned in annual reports. I'm always looking at nonprofits' annual reports. I rarely see matching gifts, but when I do, I think it's so exciting. Sometimes you see those pages where the donors of certain levels are listed. I'm super thrilled when I see a similar page where matching gift donors of certain level are listed as well, where you're shouting out certain folks. We have tons of different examples on our websites of different ways you can kind of leverage some of these ideas and different images, some of which I showed you today. But overall, the main thought is just thinking about what you're already doing to leverage the relationship between your donors and getting people to support you guys, and figuring out where, if you're asking for money or support or thanking someone for support, can you include the mention of matching gifts into it? And that's the easiest way to do cross marketing across all of your donors, and over time increase matching gift visibility, thus increasing your matching gift revenue. And hopefully, I won't keep saying $4 to $7 billion is left on the table. If I'm still doing matching gifts 10 years from now, hopefully I can say $1 to $2 billion, because, you guys are tapping into that revenue. I'll wrap up. I know we have a question or two. I'll wrap up by saying, taking some of the recommendations, I've shared with you guys today. Other nonprofits have reported, 50% more of eligible folks submitting matching gift request forms just by mentioning matching gifts and increasing that visibility, moving from that 1.3% average of what folks are getting matched from those individual contributions, closer to that 5 to 15% of getting those individual gifts matched. And then, nonprofits are generating over 20 to 50% more matching gift revenue each year by using some of our free tools, some of our paid services, and attending some of our own educational webinars as well that are free on our website. So our goal is really to make matching gifts easy for you guys. And I hope you at least got one or two really cool things you can pull back. I'll leave this nonprofit checklist up for a couple minutes while I check out the questions that were posted. You guys feel free to take a look at this. It's a really good kind of walk away that you could use to get started on your own next steps.
That is awesome. Thank you, Sydney Fay, for going through all that. That you really demystified it, because it can be kind of intimidating for folks, right? And to me, it's always kind of a black box. But yeah, you really broke it down, and that was awesome. The biggest takeaway I had, new thing I learned, was just thinking more about the Google search, internet search piece. I think that's a real great tip. I mean, obviously being able to have folks easily see and be able to do a matching gift on the forms itself and find it on your site is great. But I hadn't considered the natural progression of someone want to make a matching gift, and so they would naturally go to search and the internet for that for an organization. So that's a great tip. Yeah, anybody else have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A or the chat. But that was awesome. Thank you very much for that. Any other final thoughts?
No, I would say, sorry again if my screen dropped off. Not sure where it did drop off.
It was just like a minute or so.
Okay.
I don't think you were actually discussing any specific examples at the moment. So that was perfect.
Perfect. Well, then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you want this checklist, you can always reach out to us. we're on everything. We're on Twitter and LinkedIn. You can email me, sydneyfay@doubledonation.com. If you want to learn more about our service specifically, you can visit our website. But we're super thankful to have participated with you guys, Mark, in this year's conference. I'm super excited to hopefully talk to some of, our current clients and future clients about matching gifts. And, I have these last couple slides here to see if there's any questions, but also wanted to remind you guys again to complete that brief survey at the end of today's session so you guys can win some really cool things for taking the time to learn more about matching gifts and all the other peer-to-peer stuff today.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you again, Sydney Fay. And yeah, thanks everybody for attending. And don't forget about the other sessions still coming up later today. I'm not sure if I'll do another Friday, all these Fridays, but I get it. We all want to have our weekend start, but definitely whatever your thoughts are about this conference, about this session, let us know. Oh, there is a question that came in. Is there a way to encourage companies to partner in matching gifts for our organization?
Yeah, so this sounds like a question. So you're saying, is there a way for a company who maybe doesn't already have a corporate matching gift program to specifically maybe create a corporate matching for your nonprofit? Let me know if I misunderstood that question.
That's how I'm interpreting that. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So I would say the answer is yes. Typically the companies, if you don't have like a corporate partnerships team, right, who's working on the larger companies, and the larger companies like Home Depot and Coke typically already have corporate matching. So I say all that to say, typically the companies who you are looking to target this for are your local neighborhood corporations, I like to call them. Folks that are in the same communities that you're typically supporting. And a good way to start that is by honestly tracking where your donors are working. As soon as you're able to at least track, like I said, at the very least, a free-form text field to be able to at least have the data to say that, wow, we had 50 people out of 300 who participated in this event that works for John's Pizza Garage or something, being able to have that data is how you then can share that the corporations or the company's mission, what they've established as a culture at their place of employment, has already been related back to your nonprofit because their employees have already bought into your mission. So it really starts there, and that kind of finding a way to prove to a corporation that you are related, your mission's related to what they're trying to accomplish, and that their employees have already bought in is the easiest way. Other than that, it's, talking to your corporate relations team if you don't already have one, and going out and kind of getting folks to start with smaller sponsorships maybe of your events, and then opening the door up for a corporate matching program to be a larger conversation as it relates to their corporate philanthropy.
That's great. Well, thanks for that question, Carmen. And thanks again, Sydney Fay. And thanks everybody for joining us today. And everybody have a great weekend.
Awesome. Have a good Friday, guys.